Welcome back to another exciting episode of Beyond the Game with Hal, where we dive deep into personal stories and insights of athletes who inspire us on and off the field. I'm Hal, your young host with a passion for sports broadcasting and to explore what makes athletes tick. Today, I have an incredible opportunity to chat with Mike Furtney, an outstanding offensive lineman for the Wisconsin Badgers. Mike's journey is not just about his impressive achievements on the football field. It's a story of resilience, dedication, and the pursuit of excellence. Join us as we get to know the man behind the jersey and under the helmet and his motivations and challenges to the impact he aims to make beyond the gridiron. Whether you're a fan of Wisconsin or just love a good underdog story, you won't want to miss what Mike has to share. Let's dive deep into the world of Mike Furtney, Beyond the Game. Mike,
How's it going, man?
good. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Love the background.
Thank you. As I told you, I want to get in sports broadcasting, work in sports, and this helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I always want to help support fans, help support people trying to pursue their dreams.
All right. So one of the first things I have to ask you is, how was your recruitment process like to get to Wisconsin?
It was kind of like an interesting process. It's kind of a little bit like a roller coaster. First time Wisconsin ever not directly contacted me, but was in contact with me through my head coach was when I was a sophomore, and they asked me to come out to a camp, and went out. Instantly kind of fell in love with Madison. Instantly was like, I'm really liking University of Wisconsin. At the same time, I also didn't have any offers at all at the time, so I didn't really know if that was ever going to be an option for me. I went to my junior year. I got a lot of smaller Division I schools, like a lot of teams in the MAC. And but then after my season, right around, I want to say around this time, maybe about a month or two ago, I started getting a lot more Power 5 offers. But the entire time, I kind of had Wisconsin in the back of my mind. And everybody always jokes and says that they knew I was going to go to Wisconsin, even though I always said I never really knew. But pretty much I got my invite. I was actually in a mall parking lot when I got the call. I was with my now wife, and so she was right there when I got that offer. But then slowly, not too many weeks later, I ended up committing to go play here. And it was from then on, it was no looking back.
And obviously, you didn't get recruited by Coach Fickle, who you played for the past few years. What was that like, changing coaches?
It was interesting. It was interesting. It was one of those things I went into it very open-minded. I knew it was going to be different. I knew, obviously, brand new strength staff, brand new head coach, brand new O-line coach. A lot of things are going to be different. The offense is obviously, from watching, the offense is a lot different. But I think when it came down to it, I knew that I just had to buy in as much as possible, and really, because as an older guy, you have to try and do your best to convey the message that the head coach gives to the younger guys and trying to create a coherence amongst the team. So as an older guy, I just did my best to buy into what he was saying, buy into what our mission was, and try and make sure that everybody who might have looked up to me, looked to me for guidance in those situations, I kind of try to keep us all on the same path, on the same mission.
Another thing you said, being an older guy on the team, you gotta lead and help with the younger guys. What does it mean to you to be a leader and help a team be successful?
It means a lot. It's one of those things that being a leader is something that should not be taken lightly. While I might not have been a captain, I definitely was like a leader in the O-line room in terms of, just trying and not even like appointed or anything like that. It was one of those things just kind of like when you're an older guy, younger guys especially kind of like look to you for ask for advice. So I think the thing is you need to take that role seriously and really try and actively, not just kind of like not passively, you got to actively try and be the best leader you can be and do the extras. There's times where, say, a younger guy who might not have a chance to play that year, but a younger guy might be struggling a little extra. You stay with him after practice to help him out with his techniques, things like that. You want to do the extras because when you do the extra things, everybody else is going to do it too.
And that was probably also taught to you by leaders that you've had in the past that probably helped you and that you looked up to and looked how great they were, which probably inspired you then once you got to there to be like how they were to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still remember the day when I was a freshman, speaking about like taking somebody after practice and working with on their techniques. I still remember the day where it was Michael Dieter, John Dietzen, and I think Bo Benchwell also was there. And Dieter looked at me and said, "Hey, we got to figure out this like your pass set technique. It's not that good right now. We're gonna figure this out." And they stayed with me for 20 some minutes after full pad practice. It wasn't like they had an easy day, but they stayed with me after practice to just help, and it meant a lot to me as a younger guy. And for them, it was probably just another thing they were doing. But I promised myself when I was in that leadership role that I wasn't going to forget how it felt to when an older guy looked out for you or helped you out with things like that.
And I bet it's not even just like working on the technique. It's the thought that you belong and that people want to be with you and help get you better in a family that you're new to the team, just something you never experienced before. And older people who've been there wanting to help you definitely means a lot.
Absolutely. Just showing that you care, showing that you care about them getting better. Not only just telling them, but proving them that they're part of this group, they're a part of this team just as much as anybody else. Absolutely.
Because even if you're not playing, you can still make a huge contribution to the team on the sidelines.
Absolutely. It's the unsung heroes or the people on scout team. It's one of those things that if I don't get a good look all week on a play or that we're doing, the minute it's like when you don't get a good look all week and like from the scout team, and then you get into the game, it's kind of like running that play for the first time all week. And it's not really ideal to be doing when you're under the lights, So when you have a scout team that really works hard and does everything they can to give you guys the best chance to win every Saturday, it means a lot. It might not be something that people and the fans see, but from a player perspective, it means a ton.
Another thing, playing in the Big Ten, harsh environments, especially on the road. I mean, Camp Randall's a great place to play. How do those environments of the Big Ten, how do you guys get past those and face the challenges of the loud crowd? Or does that not really have a big effect on you guys?
Oh, it definitely. I think at times it has an effect, but I'd say less so on your mindset because you have to be able to kind of block out things in terms of like, say, if some fans are heckling you, things like that. It's not really something because there's so many other things that you're taking in and thinking about. Most of the time, if you've done it a few times, you can kind of block it out. But when it gets tough is when you have those really loud stadiums and you have to adapt when it comes to communicating with the guys in the field. There's times where I remember I'd having to like lean over and pretty much like scream in one of my teammates' ears so they can make sure they get the call, and so having to do those different things, maybe it's a different cadence, things like that. So yeah, it is different. In the beginning, I feel like it might have been a little bit harder to block out all the extra noise, but as you get on, it's more about how you handle certain situations and overcoming those.
One more thing, obviously having ups ups and downs throughout a season, let alone a career. How do you deal with those downs, but then expand and execute the ups when you're playing really well and keeping it like that?
I always say it's you can't let the highs get too high and you can't let the lows get too low. Because all the time it's very. I mean, how many times you see an undefeated season? You know what I mean? It's not really gonna happen. How many times you see a team that's a really good team, they show up on a Saturday and they're just not. It's just they're not firing all cylinders, and things like that happen. And if you went out there and that team next week all of a sudden was like, hey, we're a bad football team, they let the lows get too low, it's going to kind of start self-destructing there. But if you can make sure you kind of keep yourself level in terms of like, we won a game, don't be overexcited in terms of like, be happy you won, be excited you won, be proud of yourself that you won, but don't view yourself as like the world beaters and stuff. So make sure you just like, all right, we won that game, happy about it. Monday rolls around. We're going to forget that game. We're moving on to the next. And the same thing for losses.
Right. I know when I play, we have that 24-hour rule. You have 24 hours to celebrate the win or think about the loss, but then it's on to the next game.
Absolutely.
And then just not letting you, if you do come out like a team that never's played football before, 1 week, you can't let that affect how you practice the next week. Or if you come out looking like the greatest football team ever, you can't get complacent and practice like that, which is definitely a big thing.
Absolutely. One of the things my coaches said this past year was don't let one loss beat you twice. And that kind of like, and it reflects in terms of reps. Say I'm out there, I lose a rep. If you're in your head and you can't get over that loss of that rep, and you go out there and you're not in the right headspace to perform again, then you're going to probably do the exact same thing the next rep. And so that's what they always say. You can't let the one mistake or one loss beat you twice. And that's kind of something that like you take with you,
All right, to close it out here, I'm doing this with everybody. Final 14 questions.
Okay.
Answer them how you like.
Alrighty.
Final 14. All right. Who was your idol growing up?
Oh, I played so many different sports, so it was always kind of hard trying to figure out that like certain one because they almost like go by the season. I'll tell you what, I always loved Tom Brady just from like because I grew up in Southeast Michigan. And him going to the University of Michigan, I only grew up 15 minutes from there, and being like, oh, that guy was like here. Now he is out winning Super Bowls. So I guess I go with him. He was the one I was always like, he's.
All right. What's your favorite fast food restaurant?
Favorite fast food. If you're in Wisconsin, I'd say Culver's. If you're out of Wisconsin, I'd probably say like a Wendy's.
Biggest fear.
Biggest fear. Shoot, that's a deep one, ain't it? I've always been weird about heights in terms of like you ever have those things where like you have to like jump off of like a high height or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like you ever did like a blob?
Yeah.
Those used to sketch me out when I was a kid.
Favorite school subject.
History.
Favorite hobby.
Hobby.
Besides football.
When I get the opportunity, I love being able to like do like hunting and fishing, being outdoors and everything. But a lot of times with football, you don't get the opportunity as much. So I mean, I like playing video games, things like that.
Who's your favorite YouTuber influencer?
Favorite YouTuber influencer. There's some that are pretty good. There's some pretty good ones out there. I always like really get into like the strong men and stuff like that. I like the world's strongest man stuff. So one guy that was always sweet watching when I was growing up is he kind of does a little bit of stuff is like Brian Shaw or like Eddie Hall. Normally those two guys are pretty big.
What's your favorite gym workout?
I like hitting like curls. I like it's kind of like a stereotypical one, but it's always fun. Like getting that pump. It's always
Yep.
fun.
Favorite musician, artist?
I really like Zach Bryan. It's probably one of my favorites.
Favorite animal?
Funny enough, I like sharks. I do. I don't know what it is. I've always had a thing where I would never like be the crazy person to go out and try and like swim in open water with them. But it's kind of like that like healthy fear of them, but also like they're pretty darn cool.
Favorite TV show or movie?
Favorite TV. I'll go with movie. I go with like the old like classic like war movies a little bit, like the 300, or that's a little bit stereotypical. And you could go with like the movie like that Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot. That's pretty sick. I remember watching those with my dad when I growing up.
Do you have a pet peeve in someone?
Lying. I hate when people lie. End of the day, honesty is a big thing for me.
Do you have a favorite emoji?
I use it's stereotypical, but I use the crying laugh emoji all the time. I use it. It's my number one emoji like for years now.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
That's a deep one. That might be the deepest one yet, right? So I'd argue yes.
And then last but not least, are you a shower singer?
I'm not. I'm a singer when just randomly walking around the apartment or the house. I'll randomly do it. I'll do it when I'm cooking, things like that, but I'm not in the shower.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
All right. Have a good day.
You too, buddy.
Like a drum.